Barron Trump, once the silent member of the family, has shocked the world with a bold move. For years, he stayed out of the spotlight, letting his famous family take center stage. But now, something has changed. What could have prompted him to speak up after all this time? Has he finally found his voice, or is this just the beginning of something bigger? The moment has arrived, and everyone is left wondering what comes next for the youngest Trump. Barron Trump has always been an intriguing figure. Unlike his confident and charismatic brothers, who embraced public attention, Barron chose a different path, one marked by mystery and silence. It is rare for a child from such a well-known family to remain so out of the public eye. While the rest of the Trump family thrived in the spotlight, Barron's quiet demeanor set him apart. His early years were notably different from those of his older siblings. While Ivanka, Donald Jr., and Eric were frequently seen at public events, Barron's childhood appeared more private. Despite living in luxurious surroundings like Trump Tower and later the White House, he never sought attention. His brothers constantly appeared on television, at political rallies, or in glossy magazine spreads, while Barron seemed content to stay in the background. This contrast made him all the more intriguing. Why didn't he take the stage like the others? In the rare instances he appeared in public, he carried himself with a distant, unreadable expression. These brief moments fueled speculation. Was his silence intentional? Did it reflect his personality, or was he deliberately shielded from the chaos of fame? Many believe his parents, especially Melania Trump, played a significant role in protecting him. Known for her vigilance, Melania prioritized Barron's privacy above all else. Even as First Lady, she ensured he remained out of the political limelight. While his older siblings were quickly drawn into the family business or politics, Barron was kept away from such pressures. Some argue that Barron is simply a naturally reserved person. Not everyone seeks the spotlight, even when born into a famous family. The Trump name came with constant attention, yet Barron appeared uninterested in the spectacle. He may have preferred a quieter life, focusing on his own interests rather than fulfilling public expectations. Despite his silence, people remained curious. His quiet nature only added to the speculation. In a world obsessed with noise and attention, Barron stood out by doing the opposite. How does someone raised in an environment of scrutiny and public expectation decide to step forward and redefine their place in the spotlight? Everything changed when Barron turned 18. For years, the world saw him as just the youngest Trump, but adulthood brought new responsibilities and expectations. This milestone was more than just a birthday, it marked a turning point. For Barron, turning 18 was not just about coming of age, it came with immense pressure. Throughout his childhood, every movement and word was scrutinized, but his youth provided a shield. Now, as an adult, he had to define himself. His silence could no longer be attributed to inexperience. It was time to decide how the world would see him. His family's influence may have played a role in his decision to speak out. The Trump family is known for being outspoken. His older siblings have long been involved in their father's business and political affairs. In contrast, Barron had remained an outlier. As time passed, this difference may have become more noticeable. Perhaps his family expected him to take a stand or join the public conversation. Maybe personal or family-related issues pushed him to finally express himself. External factors also likely contributed. The Trump name continues to dominate headlines, and the fast-paced political landscape may have influenced Barron's timing. He may have felt compelled to address a public issue, political event, or personal matter that aligned with larger societal conversations. Interestingly, his decision to speak out didn't come out of nowhere. Subtle signs had been appearing. Over the past year, Barron had been making more public appearances, each sparking discussions about his growing presence. His demeanor had shifted, he seemed more confident. Small actions, such as his body language or brief interactions caught on camera, hinted that he was preparing to step out of the shadows. Barron's decision to finally break his silence marked the end of an era. He had spent years observing, listening, and absorbing the world around him. Now, as an adult, he realized he had a voice of his own, and it was time to use it. His statement was not just a moment of self-expression but a turning point in his journey to establish his own identity. When Barron Trump finally spoke, the impact was immediate. His statement, though brief, sent shockwaves through the public. After years of silence, his words carried weight. He didn't rely on cryptic language or vague hints. His message was clear, direct, and left no room for misinterpretation. The reaction was swift. News outlets scrambled to analyze every word, while social media exploded with debates. Some saw his statement as an act of independence, the young man stepping out of his father's shadow. Others interpreted it as a challenge to the Trump family's established legacy. Regardless of perspective, one thing was certain: Barron's voice was no longer a whisper. Speculation grew. Was this a personal declaration or a rebellion? Had he simply decided to speak his mind, or was he intentionally distancing himself from his father's influence? Turning 18 granted him newfound freedom and responsibility, but his choice of words suggested something deeper, a possible message aimed not just at the public, but at his family as well. The Trump family's response was telling. In public, there was silence. No official statements, no social media posts, just an absence of reaction that fueled further speculation. Behind closed doors, however, conversations must have been intense. How did his brothers react? Did they see his actions as courageous or disloyal? What did his father think? Was he indifferent, displeased, or even secretly proud? These unanswered questions kept discussions alive. The media frenzy that followed was relentless. For days, analysts debated the significance of Barron's words. Was this a pivotal moment in Trump family history? Did it signal a shift in power dynamics? Journalists, bloggers, and influencers dissected every nuance, from his tone to his choice of punctuation. Once merely an observer, Barron had suddenly become the center of a global conversation. For years, people had wondered about Barron Trump's beliefs and worldview. In just a few words, he had answered, yet his statement only led to more questions. What happens when the quietest member of a powerful family finally speaks up? Could this moment redefine everything we thought we knew? Growing up as the youngest Trump was anything but ordinary. Barron Trump was raised in wealth, constant media scrutiny, and a political whirlwind that few could comprehend. Yet, unlike his brothers, who carved out roles as politicians, businessmen, or public figures, Barron chose a different path. He distanced himself from the chaos, letting his silence speak for him. From an early age, Barron showed a reluctance to be in the public eye. While his siblings embraced interviews, social media, and public appearances, he rarely spoke or stepped in front of cameras. At most events, he was seen alongside his parents, maintaining a composed and reserved demeanor. He was not the type of public figure the media could easily engage with, which only deepened the mystery surrounding him. Growing up in such a famous family brought both privilege and pressure. Barron wasn't just a child navigating school and adolescence, he did so under the world's watchful gaze. Every expression, every movement was analyzed. Given this intense scrutiny, it's understandable why he chose to remain low-key. Staying silent may have been his way of preserving a sense of normalcy in an otherwise extraordinary life. His contrast with his siblings made his quiet nature even more noticeable. Donald Jr. and Eric frequently made headlines with their public statements, actively participating in the family business. Ivanka became a high-profile political and fashion figure. Even Tiffany, who maintained a lower profile, took part in campaigns and media appearances. Barron, however, seemed to fade into the background as his family pushed forward, making his silence all the more striking. Now, that silence has been broken. The question remains, what will Barron Trump do next? Years of silence have profoundly shaped Barron Trump's demeanor. Silence can either bring calmness or foster isolation, and for Barron, it might have offered a refuge from the chaotic world surrounding his family. It gave him space to reflect on his own thoughts away from the noise, helping him see things more clearly. On the other hand, it could have made him feel distant, even from those closest to him. Only now, as he begins to express himself, is the world starting to grasp the depth behind his quiet nature. His silent years were not just a phase, they became a defining part of his identity. In a family known for its outspoken members, Barron chose to step back, quietly shaping his own individuality in the shadows. Barron Trump's recent statement sent shockwaves through the Trump family, sparking controversy both publicly and privately. His announcement wasn't just a simple declaration, it marked a pivotal moment that disrupted the dynamics of the family. The public was caught off guard, but the real turmoil unfolded behind closed doors. Barron's decision to speak out may have set off a chain reaction, challenging the long-standing structure within the Trump household. Growing up in such a high-profile family came with its challenges, and Barron spent most of his life on the sidelines. But the moment he found his voice, questions arose. Was this a cry for individuality, a response to years of being overshadowed, or an act of defiance? Whatever the motivation, the ripple effects were immediate. The Trump family, known for its unity, began to feel the strain of Barron's unexpected move. Donald Trump, the family patriarch, would likely view his son's actions through a unique lens. As someone who meticulously crafted his family's public image, Donald had always maintained control over the Trump narrative. Barron's statement came at a critical time, potentially threatening that power. Would Donald interpret it as a bold display of independence or a challenge to his authority? Perhaps both. While he might admire his son's newfound confidence, the unpredictability of the situation could leave him uneasy. Barron's older siblings, Ivanka, Donald Jr., and Eric, have long played prominent roles in the Trump legacy. Their reactions to Barron's remarks could significantly impact family dynamics. Would they see his decision as a natural step toward adulthood, or would they feel threatened by his deviation from the family script? The youngest Trump had always been the quiet observer, but now he was rewriting the story, forcing his siblings to confront a narrative they hadn't anticipated. The Trump name carries weight beyond the family circle. For decades, the Trumps have carefully cultivated a brand built on power, business, and politics. Their public image has been a collective effort, and any deviation could alter the course of that legacy. Barron's comments could either strengthen the family's appeal by adding a fresh perspective or expose cracks in the carefully curated facade. The world watches closely, questioning whether Barron's actions will be seen as a brave stand for independence or a rebellion against his family's legacy. Time will reveal how the Trump family navigates this uncharted territory and whether Barron's bold move reshapes their future forever. After Barron Trump's statement, one question lingers: is this the start of a new chapter for him? For most of his life, Barron remained an enigma, silently observing his family's rise to prominence. His recent comments signaled a shift, an assertion that he is ready to step into the spotlight on his own terms. Could this be the beginning of a new path for Barron? Speculation runs rampant about what lies ahead. Will he follow in his father's political footsteps, or will he carve out a completely different life away from the media glare? Despite the weight of the Trump legacy, Barron holds a unique opportunity to forge his own identity without the rigid expectations that shaped his father's journey. He could embrace a quieter, more private existence or embrace a more public role, one defined entirely on his own terms. Barron's decision to speak out also reflects a broader cultural shift among younger generations. More than ever, young people are challenging the expectations set by previous generations, seeking individuality and independence. His actions align with this growing trend, prompting questions about how even those born into wealth and power are redefining their futures. Barron's choice suggests that no legacy, no matter how powerful, is immune to change. For Barron, this moment marks the dawn of self-discovery. Once a background figure at family events, his voice now demands attention. Will he continue to advocate for his beliefs or retreat into the quiet life he once preferred? The world eagerly awaits his next move, knowing that whatever he chooses will undoubtedly spark more conversations. Opinions differ on what Barron's next steps should be. Many have watched him from the sidelines for years, anticipating the day he would break his silence. Will this statement stand alone, or is it just the first of many public declarations? The global spotlight is fixed on him, and whatever decision he makes will shape how he is perceived moving forward. Whether Barron Trump continues to speak out or retreats into the background, one thing is certain: this moment could mark the beginning of a new era. His actions hold the power to reshape not only his own future but also the trajectory of the Trump family's legacy. The doors to countless opportunities have been opened, and only time will reveal the path Barron Trump chooses to walk.